Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Cold Waters, our South China Sea campaign. In the last episode, Captain Adam Wilkinson and the crew of the USS Seawolf were able to intercept a group of replenishment tankers that were stationed in the Yellow Sea, luckily managing to avoid the hazards of shallow water in the area. And they've also just received orders that a Kiev-class aviation cruiser along with a fleet oiler and a group of escort vessels will be transiting from Russian waters into Chinese waters to help the Chinese gain control over the South China Sea. So our orders are to intercept that group and take them out. So let's go ahead and get that underway. In terms of torpedoes and weapons, we should be good for the moment. Damage report on the ship, we managed to avoid any damage from depth charges, torpedoes, or any anti-submarine weapons from the shallow sea area of the Yellow Sea just off the western coast of South Korea. Let's see. Lost ground in the Spratlys. Chinese naval infantry spearheading the invasion of the Spratlys are now reported by Chinese state media to have made substantial advances in the mainland areas. The battle for the Spratlys is now a race for time between the armed forces on the ground and the U.S. efforts to disrupt enemy supply lines. Overall, initiative in the region seems to be held by the U.S. Navy. In the region, the U.S. Navy is now in control of several key areas, thus securing the passage of reinforcements and supplies to the contested Spratly Islands region. And luckily, we're a big part of that. I don't know if this will be our force. It's moving pretty quickly. We'll go ahead and order the crew to close to 20,000 yards.
On sonar, lost contact.
And as always, back emergency.
Turns for 0
Go ahead and slow us down to
maneuvering
0 knots. Once we're there,
Make turns for 0
we'll have
knots,
sonar
maneuvering on.
scan for... We'll have sonar scan, not hearing anything, but
Sonar,
getting a
new
couple
contact
pings.
bearing
And there,
0,
sonar managed to
5,
pick
5,
up
designated Sierra 1.
something. Let's see. I can see sonar operator spotted 5 lines. We'll go ahead and try to identify. Looks like we already have. This is the Kara
Sonar,
CG.
Sierra 1
This will
is
be a
classified
Russian,
as escort.
I believe it's a guided missile cruiser, which is not good, but it's not the aviation cruiser Sinpak has told us to expect in the group. But this is likely the group because of the Russian vessel.
Come right to.
We'll go ahead and turn
Make
towards the
turns
vessel.
for 5 knots,
Go ahead and open up
maneuvering on.
the arc, try and get any ships out of the baffles, which is directly behind us, which our sonar won't be able to see.
Bearing 072, designated Sierra 5.
And we can see that
Sonar, Sierra 2
that
is
managed to do the trick.
classified as escort.
Still doing the turn. We'll go ahead and get our sonar operators to go ahead and identify the rest of these vessels. My guess is that most of these are going to be Russian vessels. I don't know if we didn't get any reports of submarines. There's what we're looking for. There's the Kiev cruiser, aviation cruiser. You can see it's got some helicopters on the back. Also, I found that when we target these, they do actually require 2 torpedoes to go ahead and sink the ship just due to the sheer size. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Looks like we do have another vessel here. I think I can see 4 lines. Thank you, Helm. But it's difficult. That's 3, and I think we have a 4th one kind of nearly all the way to the right side. I'm not sure how well you guys will be able to see that. But we'll go ahead and slow down the ship to back emergency again.
Make turns for 0 knots.
This isn't quite right. It may be a Victor 3, so we'll go ahead and tag that in there.
Submerged submarine.
And this, not to cheat too much, but it definitely sounds like a surface vessel running an engine. But you can see that line on the very far right side means that it's going to be a very unique vessel. Sonar shouldn't have too hard of a time identifying it. And it looks like it's a Dubna, so this will be the fleet oiler that they were talking about. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is this. The fleet oiler has no defenses. You can see there's none tagged up here in our identification guide. So I'll fire off 2 torpedoes at the Karas, and I want to fire off 2 torpedoes at the Kiev. mainly because of the fact that that is our main objective. It's got quite a lot of, you can see it's got anti-missile guns and AK-462, which are also anti-missiles, along with the fact that it can launch helicopters. And I dare say helicopters are probably, other than enemy submarines, our #1 threat here during our time in the South China Sea. So we have 5 torpedoes loaded, which means I'm going to shoot all 5.
Aye, sir. Shoot tube 4. Aye, sir. Shoot tube 6. Aye, sir.
And how that Victor has not picked us up being that close, I could not tell you. I suppose the Soviets, or now Russia, excuse me, have been doing some naval cutbacks since the end of the Cold War. But will tell you what we are going to do. We're going to turn this torpedo in after it's been doglegged and have it track the Victor. We'll send torpedo 1 towards the Sierra 1 Kara, and we'll turn our other torpedoes in now, just because they know we're here.
Con sonar, Sierra 4 is cavitating.
Turn torpedo 3, turn to 90 degrees, and torpedo 4 will also go ahead and turn to bearing 120.
Con sonar,
Set
bearing
torpedo
0,
6 to
4,
active.
0.
We'll turn it to the right. And
Sonar lost
hit.
Contact. Sierra 5. Last bearing 0, 3, 9.
Put another
Contact
submarine on the board, this time Russian. Alright. We'll go ahead and guide torpedo 1 into the Kara. Sierra 1 Kara. Guide torpedo 2 into the second one. Which it looks like it immediately acquired and then disacquired. Which was odd, but that's okay.
Noisemaker bearing 0, 5, 1.
We'll set torpedo 1 to active and torpedo 2 to active. We'll go ahead and guide torpedo 3 to the north to intercept the Kiev along with torpedo 4. We're not going to set them to active yet.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 0,
I want to go ahead and guide
2.
torpedo 1 in. We'll guide it in manually.
Con sonar,
And
noisemaker bearing
Sierra 1
0,
down.
2.
Go ahead and let torpedo 2 do terminal guidance on active. Looks like the Kiev has launched torpedoes.
Con sonar,
That's important to
noisemaker
keep in
bearing
mind.
0, 5,
And you can see just the sheer size of this thing. It's supposed to be operated as a helicopter carrier, and I think these were supposed to be, I want to say, Yak 141s. They're basically the Russian equivalent of the Harriers. But no matter, they'll soon be, hopefully, sitting at the bottom of the sea. Looks like torpedo 3's hit its activation stage. We'll go ahead and guide it up, because it's probably sitting pretty deep. It's sitting so deep, in fact, that it missed the Kiev, which is fine. 4 is going to do the same. We'll have to guide it up and around. Except I'm controlling torpedo 4, which doesn't matter.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 0, 4.
So we'll turn torpedo 2 towards the Kara, it'll track. We're going to turn torpedo 3 and 4 around. And now set them to active.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Torpedo 3 didn't acquire. We'll have to guide it in manually. Torpedo 4 is still sitting at depth, but it acquired. Torpedo 3 has yet to acquire yet. Oh, Torpedo 3 has acquisition of the Kiev. Excellent. We are a little close here, and we can see that torpedo is surfaced and coming towards us. Master, let's see. We'll go ahead. XO set depth of 1,500 feet.
1500 feet, dive high.
Alright. We have torpedo 2 on homing, along with torpedoes 4 and 3. Torpedo 4, impact on the Kiev. Torpedo 2,
Con sonar,
impact on the Kara.
0, 9,
Torpedo 3, looks like it was lured off by a decoy. We're going to go ahead and guide it back in.
Con, fire control.
Torpedo 3 acquired and hit.
Contact. Sierra 3.
Kiev
last
down.
bearing, 0, 9,
Excellent.
7. Contact
Go ahead and
breaking up.
reload tubes 3 and 4 with torpedoes. We do still have the Dubna. We'll go ahead and make turns for 10 knots.
Turns for 1, 0 knots. Maneuvering aye.
Torpedo looks like it has entirely missed us.
Turns for 1, 0 knots.
Alright. We'll go ahead and
Make depth 1,
set
0,
1,000 to
0
let this
feet,
torpedo
dive on.
pass. We don't need to go as deep as I initially thought. And now that the torpedo's passed, set depth to 50 feet.
Make depth 5, 0 feet, dive high.
And prepare to launch Tomahawk anti-ship missile. So we're actually going to go ahead and slow down and make turns for 5 knots.
Make turns for 5 knots. Maneuvering aye.
We'll get up to...
Maneuvering. Making turns for 5 knots.
Alright, we'll go ahead, get up to missile launch depth, which we are at. We will fire 1 Tomahawk anti-ship missile bearing 070.
27. Aye, sir.
We do see a helicopter out here cheating a little bit, but we'll go ahead and dive. Set depth to 1,200 feet.
Make depth 1, 2, 0, 0 feet, dive high.
So we'll go ahead and start heading down. Turns out that missile flew right past the helicopter, and hopefully we'll hope the helicopter pilots are blind, maybe a little bit off their game, even though we just sunk an entire Russian task force and missed the missile launch plume. But we're going to go ahead,
Console
rapidly descend.
Contact. Sierra 4. Last bearing 0, 7, 2. Contact breaking up.
And with that, the entire task force has been sunk. Missile impact, Sierra 4, our tanker that command asked us to hunt, is sunk. So with that, we'll go ahead and leave combat because we have the ability to. We can see we sunk everything. And continue. Excellent job, Commander. Your neutralization of this high priority target will severely reduce the enemy's ability to handle trans-Pacific convoys. Send Paxton's regards to you and your crew. Stand by for further orders. Excellent. And with the sinking of that group, the Secretary of the Navy expresses his heartfelt congratulations and take pleasure in awarding the Navy Cross to Commander Adam Wilkinson, Commanding Officer USS Seawolf, SSN-21, for extraordinary heroism and leadership in action against the enemy as Commanding Officer of the USS Seawolf in the vicinity of the Sea of Japan on the 18th of September 2000. Commander Adam Wilkinson's outstanding seamanship and skillful tactics inflicted great damage on the enemy forces, and his conduct upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. Excellent. That's another medal we can add for our time here in the China Seas and the Western Pacific. Go ahead and add another safe transit newspaper article in there, and we'll receive more orders from SENPAC. Alright, our next orders. A wolf pack of enemy attack submarines have been operating in an area along the southern coast of Japan between Okinawa and the mainland, where they have been terrorizing coastal shipping lanes as part of the Beijing strategy to starve Japan into draining their support for the United States in this conflict. We are hereby ordered to transit to the East China Sea and conduct an anti-submarine warfare sweep of the area. Avoid any civilian casualties. Primary objective, locate and sink enemy submarines, which we certainly will do. XO, status report. All tubes loaded. Currently have 9 torpedoes left, so not below that threshold. I kind of like to stay above. Still have a full load of Tomahawk land attack missiles. Still have plenty of anti-ship missiles. Do only have 1 MOS though. Something we need to keep in mind if we're going to go back into the shallow areas. But for now, we'll continue course and set sail for the East China Sea, looking for a group of submarines to try and break out between Okinawa and... Oh! Looks like we've had sonar report something. We have a new sonar contact bearing 40. Close to 20,000 yards. All hands man battle stations. And with that, we'll head on in. Make turns back emergency.
Make maneuvering eye. Con, sonar, new con.
And now make turns for 0 knots.
Turns for 0 knots, maneuvering eye.
We have a ship, or we have a sonar contact, Sierra 1, bearing 4-1. Let's go ahead and take a look. We can see it's traveling underwater. It's not making any noise. It's likely not a whale, so to say. So we're going to go ahead and assume it's an enemy subsurface vessel. We'll go ahead and get sonar to try and see what it is. Looks like they've already identified it as a song.
Sierra 1 is classified as submerged submarine.
You can see it's got passive sonar, a radar, and U-5 torpedoes, test depth 1,000 feet. It's a very quiet sub at 115 decibels. I think we're at 105, if not quieter. The USS Seawolf is one of the quietest submarines that's ever been made, and I think in the game it is the quietest. So we'll go ahead. Weapons fire 1 torpedo bearing 036.
Shoot 2-1. Aye, sir.
And we can already see, looks like they picked up on that launch and have gone active on their sonar. We'll go ahead and speed up time, give time for our torpedo to travel as sonar continues to
Con, fire
find
control,
the...
Con, sonar, noisemaker,
Oh,
bearing.
turns out it's
0,
very
3,
close.
2.
Set torpedo sensor to active. We'll guide the torpedo back to the left.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Roger, weapon acquired. We'll follow the weapon in.
Con, sonar, noisemaker, bearing.
We'll steer
0,
that torpedo
3,
back to the right,
0.
make impact, and Sierra 1, contact breaking up. Excellent. We'll reload torpedo 1, or tube 1 with another torpedo. Looks like that's all the contacts we had traveling, probably just a lone song submarine, but that's another one we can add to the tally. Command will be certainly happy to hear about that.
Con, torpedo room, tube 1 ready.
Roger, tube 1 ready. We'll go ahead and leave combat now. Turns out there was a Ming there also, which didn't detect us and we didn't detect it, so we'll each go our separate ways, but to sink that song is perfectly fine with me. Ah, and turns out that was our objective. Very pleased that you dealt with those subs with determination and resolve, Commander. Remember that for every enemy vessel we take out, it means a safer transit for our troops and transports. Good work. New orders to be issued shortly on this downlink. So it turns out we kind of stumbled into the enemy wolf pack there, but hey, that's okay. Sometimes you just need to get lucky. Once again, wolves driven off. Incidents involving attacks on convoys by hostile submarines in and around the East China Sea have rapidly diminished. We've kind of seen this one, so I'll leave it here if you want to read it, but we'll go ahead and continue on. And new orders from SINPAC. Intelligence data indicates the enemy plans an amphibious landing at Taipei, Taiwan. A task force of landing ships is leaving Shantou now. We are to intercept and destroy this force before landing occurs. Primary objective, locate and sink enemy amphibious landing ships. Secondary objective, locate and sink any escorting vessels if possible. Report status, we're down to 8 torpedoes. We're good enough for this. Typically, enemy landing forces have between 4 to 6 escorts. 8 torpedoes should be enough, especially as long as we watch our wires. And we have plenty of anti-ship missiles, typically, for enemy actual amphibious landing vehicles that are transporting enemy troops. We'll see anywhere between 3 to 5. I think I've seen 6 a couple times, but we have plenty of anti-ship missiles prepared for amphibious landing ships. The one issue with Taipei, however, is that it is also one of these shallow water amphibious landing areas. But, oh, and we've been spotted by enemy reconnaissance planes. We'll go ahead and head back east. I can guarantee you that something, whether it be a subsurface or surface task force, has gone there, but it doesn't matter. We've hit something anyways. Captain, we have a new sonar contact bearing 355. Designate Sierra 1. Roger. Close to 20,000 yards. All hands man battle stations.
Con, sonar, lost contact. Last bearing 355. Contact faded.
Roger that. Make turns for back emergency.
Turns for 0 knots, maneuvering eye. turns for 0 knots. Maneuvering eye.
I'm gonna say this is probably another subsurface vessel, just based on the noise that I don't hear anything.
Bearing 060. Designated Sierra 2.
Roger that. Sierra 2 identified. Let's take a look at Sierra 1. We can see it's subsurface. Let's look at the signature. Go ahead and sort through our various submarines. Not quite a song. The signatures don't match up. Ah, but this is a Ming.
Sonar Sierra 1 is classified as submerged submarine.
Sierra 2 looks like it's likely to be a merchant vessel based on the noise, and it is
Sonar
indeed.
Sierra 2 is classified as merchant.
Alright. Weapons, fire tube 1 torpedo bearing 356.
Shoot tube 1. Aye, sir.
And with that, tube 1 is away.
Sonar launch transient from Sierra 1.
Affirm, launch
Sonar,
transit.
Launch transient from Sierra 1.
Roger that, second launch transit. Make depth 1300 feet.
Make depth 1300 feet. Dive by.
With that,
Sonar,
we should
Sierra
hopefully...
1 is cavitating.
Roger that, Sierra 1 cavitating. We'll go ahead and hopefully slip under these torpedoes. We're gonna let our torpedo get a little bit closer. Hopefully get a weapon track.
Con, fire control. Weapon acquired.
Roger that, weapon acquired. Set tracking
Sonar,
to active.
Noisemaker bearing 004.
Roger that. We'll go ahead and
Con,
keep...
fire control. Weapon countermeasure homing.
Roger that. But we'll go ahead and guide torpedo 1 back on the track.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 004. Con sonar lost contact. Sierra 1, last bearing 003. Contact breaking up.
Excellent. Torpedo impact, vessel sunk. Now our only goal is to slip underneath these torpedoes that were launched in response, which it looks like we'll manage to do.
Con, dive at 1300 feet. Dive by.
Roger, dived at 1300 feet. We'll speed time a little bit here. Let these weapons pass us. Likely hit their safety cutoff. They'll probably implode soon. Affirm they did, and with that, we'll leave combat. And that was the only enemy in the engagement. Now down to 7 torpedoes. Probably I still feel safe enough to engage this enemy landing force. So we'll move forward. Well done, but it's not your mission target. Understood. Again, another one of those things you just kind of run into. And another enemy ship. Alright. Captain, we have a new sonar contact bearing 347. Designate Sierra 1. Apparently the captain and the crew are not getting any rest today. We'll close to 20,000 yards. All hands, man battle stations.
Con sonar, new contact.
Back emergency. We'll look at conditions. There's a weak thermal layer here. That'll make us harder to detect. Let's go ahead and make depth 350 feet.
Make depth 350 feet. Dive by.
And that'll put us underneath that thermocline. That layer of kind of colder water. And that'll make us a little bit harder to find. We do have a vessel out there though. Sierra 1 at bearing 346. Really don't have that good of...
Dive at 350 feet. Dive by.
Affirm. Really don't have that good of a solution on it. But we are getting a sonar read from it, so we're going to fire tube 1. Weapons, fire tube 1, bearing 342.
Contact bearing 299. Designated Sierra 2.
Affirm. Weapons, fire tube 2, bearing 288.
Shoot tube 2. Aye, sir.
And with that, we'll have both those torpedoes going after those different active radar pings. Or sorry, sonar pings, not radar. Radar doesn't work that well
Con, fire
underwater.
control. Weapon acquired.
Roger, weapon 1 acquire, set sensor to active.
Con sonar, Sierra 1 is classified as escort.
Should we correctly identify it? It's an enemy vessel. Torpedo 1 will home now.
Con sonar lost contact. Sierra 2, last bearing 291. Con sonar lost contact. Sierra 1, last bearing 340. Contact breaking up.
Affirm, good hit. Reload tube 1 with torpedo. Mark 48. We'll go ahead and see if we can't reacquire Sierra 2 and chase down with our second launch torpedo.
Tube 1 ready.
Looks like the enemy has aviation up, launching sonar buoys to try and locate our location. Let's go ahead and set depth at 1200 feet.
Make depth 1200 feet. Dive high.
Hopefully we can find Sierra 2 again. Looks like they found us, which isn't great. Oh, nope, they found the torpedo.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
And weapon is acquired. Yep, looks like they tried to pinpoint where we launched torpedo from, but it found it halfway through its travel. So they launched a torpedo in that vicinity.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 291. Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 292. Con sonar lost contact. Sierra 2, last bearing 292. Contact breaking up.
So, enemy vessel was a Zhangwei enemy escort vessel. Torpedo impact and vessel sunk. We'll go ahead, reload tube 2 as we go to depth.
Torpedo room. Tube 2 ready.
Roger that. We are unable to leave combat due to weapons nearby and aircraft nearby. So let's go ahead and start getting out of here. Set course heading 180.
Come left to 180. Helm aye.
Let's make 5 knots.
Make turns for 5 knots. Maneuvering aye.
Alright.
Con maneuvering. Making turns for 5 knots.
Roger that. We'll go ahead and speed up time. Accelerate our turn. Hopefully get away from this pattern of sonar buoys. Enemy torpedo has been launched, which isn't great.
Con sonar. Torpedo in the water. Torpedo
And
in
it's
the
found
water.
us.
Bearing 3, 1,
Launch
8.
Moss bearing 277.
Aye, sir.
And with this, we're actually gonna do a little move here. Make turns for 15 knots.
Make turns for 15 knots. Maneuvering
Set
aye.
depth to 200 feet.
Make depth 200 feet. Dive high.
Con sonar. Torpedo in the water. Torpedo in the water.
Launch decoy.
Bearing 3, 1, 1. Con helm. Steady course.
Roger, steady course. Launch decoy. It's unavailable. Now we got one. Hopefully we can get those torpedoes to turn and go after the Moss instead. Chase it to the middle of nowhere. Looks like we got 1, 2. Not the other one though. Hopefully we'll be high enough up we're out of the arc.
Passing 200 feet.
Torpedo exploded, no effect. It's like our other torpedo is still chasing our Moss. And weapon exploded, excellent. Load tube 5 with Tomahawk anti-ship missile, because that's the only thing we have left. We'll go ahead and accelerate time. We still have aircraft nearby. Oh, yep. Aircraft is pretty much right next to us, but can't do much due to our speed. Set depth 1200 feet.
Make depth 1200 feet. Dive high.
Con, torpedo room, tube 5 ready.
Roger. Make turns for 5 knots.
Make turns for 5 knots. Maneuvering aye.
Rig ship for ultra quiet.
Rig ship for ultra quiet.
And with that, hopefully we can now slip away due to the noise reduction and
Maneuvering,
depth.
Making turns for 5 knots.
Roger. Here now we're at 1200 feet. Hopefully now we can slip away from that dipping sonar.
Con, dive at 1200 feet. Dive high.
I dive at 200 feet. Unfortunately, that aircraft's still nearby. We're just gonna have to go ahead, hope that we can slip away from it, and speed up time. We can see we can't even see the bottom, so we have plenty of depth here. We can go down probably another 300 feet if we really need to. But we've managed to escape to a safe distance, and we will now leave combat. We did manage to sink both those escort vessels and evade torpedoes. Excellent results, but unfortunately this was not your mission objective. I'll go ahead and hit brief though, because I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos in the future, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when the next video is released, hit the notification bell below. You can hit videos or all. Also, I'm always looking to make improvements on the channel. Leave a comment down below with any improvements you like. I've already responded to one comment left on episode 1, and I'm trying to do that a little bit more of what that comment suggested, which is add a little bit more drama, add a little bit more narrative. So hopefully you're liking that. I'll try to continue in that direction. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and bye bye.